Hey guys, this is Tom, and I want to show you this whole house water filter from GE. This is the GXWH70M, and it's a smart Wi-Fi connected whole house filter. It's pretty neat. It comes with quick connect fittings. It needs to connect to 3/4 inch pipe. It'll work up to, it's rated for up to 125 psi, but they recommend if your house water pressure is 80 psi during the day that you might want to put some sort of pressure regulator, because just because the pressure is 80 during the day, at night it could go higher, and you don't want to do that. But this thing has some new features. It's Wi-Fi connected, so you can control it and monitor it through the phone. I'll show that in a little bit. It has 3 different types of filters you can get for it. One is just a particulate filter, which is pretty cheap. I think it's something like $20, and it'll filter just sand and sediment. It's like maybe 30 microns. Then there's a carbon spun filter that's a little more. I think it was like $25 or $30, something like that. And that will filter particulates to a smaller degree. I think that was 5 micron, but I might be mistaken. But it also has carbon, so it will reduce the chlorine taste in the water. And then you have their most expensive filter, which is about $50 at this moment, which will filter all the other stuff: sediment, chlorine taste, and everything else that the carbon filter takes care of. But in addition, it'll filter out lead, and that one's 5 microns. You could bypass the filter if you need to change the filter, but just by pressing this button here and then turning this handle. I won't show you that just yet, because it's a little hard to do when it's not connected and I have to hold it. There's a filter indicator light, light indicating that it's Wi-Fi connected. On the back, there's an RJ45 port, which I thought you could hardwire it into the network, but I spoke to GE customer service and they told me no. That's if the Wi-Fi is not working, then they would if for some reason the Wi-Fi fails, they'll send you one of their GE Connect Home appliances, which is an adapter, basically just a Wi-Fi adapter, I guess. But I don't know, I'm going to test that out later, see if you can actually connect it to the network. It does need DC, well, it does need power. It has a DC adapter to plug into standard 110 outlet in your home. You can rotate the back if you need to mount it vertically or horizontally, depending which way your plumbing flows. But this is what I want to show you here. This is pretty neat. The app will show you how much water was used. It'll show you the current mode, and the current mode right now is filtered. The flow rate is 0 gallons per minute because I don't have it hooked up. It'll tell you how much of the filter life is remaining, and the filters generally are about 3 months from the ones I checked. And there's some alerts. If the flow rate exceeds a certain amount, you'll get an alert. And there's actually 3 different types of alerts you can get. There's one for a high flow, which would be if it doesn't give you the exact gallons per minute, but if you have multiple showers running, or if you have a burst pipe. Medium flow would be if you have a shower running, and low flow if you have a sink running or maybe a leaking toilet. And there's different levels you could set it to. You could set the low flow for 60 minutes. So if a toilet's flowing for 60 minutes, it's going to alert you. And this way it kind of, obviously you're going to be using water in your home from time to time. So you'll want to not get alerts every time the water's running, just because, that's just part of normal everyday life. If you do have some sort of irrigation system, obviously you'll want to install this after that, so that you don't waste filter and get alerts whenever your sprinklers are running, or if you have some other high water usage device. But I think in a residential setting, sprinkler is going to be the most obvious or the most common. So let's go back to this and let's see. So now this is the cool part. As I mentioned, this is the valve control handle, and you press a button, and you could turn it to bypass or you could turn it to off, and you'll turn it to off, or when you need to change a filter, or if the filter has exceeded its useful life, you might turn it to bypass, or you turn it to bypass if you don't, for whatever reason, you don't want to filter the water. Maybe you're just going to be watering your lawn by hand and you want to save some of the filter, so you'll turn it off and turn it back. But you can also change it by using the app, and you just click on the current mode right there, and then you'll set it to what you want it to do. So let's set it to bypass and hit set. Now the actual valve handle will turn itself. There's a little motor in there which turns the handle, which makes it convenient. So it's a mechanical valve, and there's some sort of servo in there that turns off the motor, just like your sprinkler irrigation valves might be. And now let's change it to off, and we'll see it's going to move up to the off position. Alright, and then we have it on off, and the color changes of the background, just so you can see. And now let's put it back to filtered. Okay, now it's in filter mode. There's a little play in the handle, but the valve is on the filter position. So I thought this was pretty neat. The filters are pretty easy to change. Once you put it to off position, you pull on this handle, and this will slide up. So you need a good amount of clearance. The instructions are pretty light. These are just the installation instructions, and the information about the communication is pretty bare. I called up support just to find out which app. It's really annoying because they just give you a URL. There's no QR code to scan or anything like that, which makes it a pain, especially if you're just on your phone. Really should have put a QR code in here. But the instructions, will help you get the unit installed. You will need to have it close to some sort of power source, and the app installation isn't too hard once you know which one to install. There's a few different GE apps. You'll need the GE connected app, which has an orange background with a house on it. If you do go to the website on the instructions, you'll get the information on which app to download if you click on it. For some reason, the mobile site didn't have that information, but when I saw it on my computer, I was able to see it. But support was pretty good and helped me get the information I needed. It took a couple tries to get this device connected to my Wi-Fi network. I'm not sure why that was, but I don't know, it seems to happen sometimes with these apps. It uses a built-in Wi-Fi, so the way it works is you'll start the app, you'll create your account, and then you'll add the device. At some point during adding the device, you'll press this Wi-Fi button, and these are actually buttons, so they don't look like buttons. They're just the touch type buttons. Well, there's a button under the under this little bump. It's actually a mechanical button. So once you get the Wi-Fi going, you'll connect your phone to the Wi-Fi, and then eventually you'll pass the password. And there's the information on the side of the device that has the password to connect to the device, and you give it your Wi-Fi password, and then it'll all be set up. And you can do all of this, and you can see how much water you're using, how much filter life you have left, and in the case you do have some sort of, let's say you're away from home, and you have some sort of flow issue where you detect high water usage, but you're not, oops, my light's turned off. Yeah, I've been having some issues with that switch. So you have high water usage, and you'll get an alert on your phone. It won't automatically turn off the valve. You'll have to go into your phone and manually do it. Which is good, because if you're taking a really long shower and you don't have a or a couple of people are taking a shower at the same time, it may look like a device, and you're taking really long showers, then you may get an alert that's not warranted. But if you're, let's say you're on vacation, you know nobody's home, the water's being used, you could turn it off and have somebody investigate it, which is pretty nice.